The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Park picked up her small bag and walked toward the exit. She took a deep breath. This was her new home now, the Galactic Coalition station called Harmony's Edge. She stepped through the airlock and immediately felt small. The corridor was built for beings much larger than humans. The ceiling was 4 meters high. The doors were wide enough for 3 people to walk through side by side. Everything made her feel like a child in a world of giants. 2 officers stood waiting at the entrance. They were reptilian creatures with thick green scales and yellow eyes. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their arms were as thick as his entire body. They looked down at her with open disgust. "Another human," one of them said. His voice was deep and rough. "They keep sending these small things." Kept her face calm. Lieutenant Park reporting for duty. They did not take her identification card. He simply turned and walked away. "Follow. Commander will process you." She followed them through the massive corridors. Other aliens passed by. Others were tall insect-like beings with 4 arms and large compound eyes. A few were species she did not recognize. All of them stared at her. Some laughed. None offered a welcome. Commander's office was at the end of a long hallway. He sat behind a desk made of dark metal. When entered, he did not stand. He did not offer her a seat. He simply looked at her the way someone might look at an insect on their food. "Lieutenant Park," he said slowly, "human, female, 28 years old." He read from a screen without interest. "Tactical certification, combat training, special operations background." He finally looked up at her. "None of this matters here." "Sorry. Humans do not serve in combat roles on this station," said. "You are too small, too weak, too fragile. You would be a danger to yourself and others." Kept her voice steady. "My record shows." "Your record shows what humans think is impressive," cut her off. "Children could do what your soldiers do. You will work in the cargo bay, inventory management, counting boxes. Even you cannot fail at that." Behind her, the 2 officers laughed. It was a harsh sound, like rocks grinding together. Wanted to say something. She wanted to tell him about her training, about what she had done, about why her file required special clearance to read, but she looked into his yellow eyes and saw that words would change nothing. He had already decided what she was. "Yes, Commander," she said quietly. Smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Good. You humans learn quickly at least." Dismissed. The cargo bay was cold and dark. Mountains of containers filled the space. His job was to scan each one and record its contents in the computer system. It was work that a simple robot could do, but robots were expensive. Humans, apparently, were not. She worked alone for the first 3 days. Then she met. He found her during a meal break, eating alone in a corner of the mess hall. He was tall for a human, with tired eyes and a kind face. He sat down across from her without asking. "You're the new one," he said. "Lieutenant Park, right? I'm communications officer." "Well, that's what my file says. Really, I just fix broken screens and clean equipment." "They gave you work below your rank too," said. "They give all humans work below their rank," lowered his voice. "There are only 4 of us on this station. Me, you, Doctor, and Engineer Minu, the run everything. They think humans are weak and useless, so they treat us like servants." "Why do they hate us so much?" Shrugged. "They are warriors. They respect strength above everything. Humans are small and soft compared to them. We live short lives. We break easily. In their eyes, we are barely worth noticing." Ate her food in silence for a moment. It tasted wrong, too spicy. Her stomach would hurt later. "The food," she said, "is it always like this?" Looked at her plate and sighed. "They put spices in human meals sometimes. It's a joke to them. Makes us sick for days. You learn to check everything before you eat it." Over the next few weeks, learned many things. She learned that her quarters had been changed from a normal room to a storage closet. She learned that her equipment would disappear and reappear broken. She learned that her reports would be deleted from the system, forcing her to do the work again. She learned that they would bump into her in hallways hard enough to knock her down, then laugh and walk away. She learned that complaining made things worse. Doctor was a small woman with sharp eyes and a gentle voice. She treated bruises without asking too many questions. But one night, after wrapping a cut on's arm, she finally spoke. "You need to report this to Coalition Command. This is abuse. They cannot treat you like this." "They can," said simply, "and they will. Reporting it will only make them more careful. They will find ways to hurt us that leave no proof." "Then what do we do? Just accept it?" Looked at her with calm eyes. There was something in those eyes that did not understand, something patient and cold. "We wait," said. "We watch, we learn, and when the time comes, we act." "When what time comes?" Did not answer. She simply pulled down her sleeve and walked back to her storage closet room. That night she lay on her thin mattress and stared at the ceiling. She thought about the things she had done before coming here, the battles she had fought, the enemies she had killed, the mountains of bodies she had left behind. They thought she was weak because she was small. They thought she was harmless because she was quiet. They thought she was nothing because she did not fight back. They were wrong. Park had learned a long time ago that the most dangerous weapon was patience. Let them laugh, let them push, let them believe they were safe. One day, they would understand their mistake. And on that day, she would not need to explain anything. 6 weeks passed on Harmony's edge. Nothing changed. The still laughed at the humans. The humans still kept their heads down, still counted boxes in the cargo bay. Then the distress call came. Heard about it from. He ran into the cargo bay with fear in his eyes. "There's a hostage situation," he said breathlessly. "A mining colony on Theta 7. Raiders took over the facility. They're holding 43 workers. 12 of them are human." Stopped her work. Raiders. Rogue, they left the coalition years ago. Now they attack colonies for money and supplies. They're demanding ransom. If they don't get it, they'll start killing hostages. They walked together to the command deck. A crowd had gathered around the main screen. Commander stood at the center, barking orders. He was assembling a strike team, 20 of his best warriors, the biggest, the strongest, the most experienced. Push through the crowd. "Commander, what about us? Humans know that facility. Lieutenant Park has tactical training. She could help." Turned and looked at him like he was looking at dirt. "Humans would only slow us down. You will stay here and guard the station." He showed his teeth in a cruel smile. "Try not to hurt yourselves while we're gone." The warriors laughed. They gathered their weapons and marched to the shuttle bay. Their footsteps shook the floor. They looked like an army. "Watch them go," she said nothing. The strike team left. The station grew quiet. Everyone waited for news. 4 hours later, the distress beacon activated. Was in the cargo bay when she heard the alarm. She ran to the command deck. What she saw on the main screen made her blood run cold. Helmet camera footage from Commander. The image was shaky and filled with smoke. Plasma fire lit up the darkness. Warriors were screaming. Bodies lay everywhere. "Ambush's voice came through the speakers. He was breathing hard. "They knew we were coming. Half my team is dead. We're pinned down. We can't move. We can't retreat. Send help. Send anyone." The screen showed 20 raiders closing in on their position, but could see more in the background. Many more. The satellite images had been wrong. There weren't just 60 raiders. There were at least 100. Acting commander, an officer with nervous clicking mandibles, turned to face the remaining crew. "We have no combat personnel left. Our pilots are not trained for battle. We cannot mount a rescue." "So we just let them die," someone shouted. "We have no choice. We must wait for coalition reinforcements. They will arrive in 6 hours." 6 hours, stepped forward. His face was pale. "The hostages will be dead in 6 hours. Our people will be dead." compound eyes blinked rapidly. I am sorry, there is nothing we can do. The command deck fell into despair. People looked at each other with hopeless eyes. Some started to cry. Then a quiet voice spoke. I'll go. Everyone turned. Stood at the back of the room. She was still wearing her cargo bay uniform. She was still the smallest person on the station, but something in her voice made people listen. Clicked his mandibles. You, human, you are cargo personnel, you have no combat. Check my file, interrupted. Her voice was calm but firm. My full file, authorization code, Epsilon 7 Black. The room went silent, turned to his console and entered the code. His 4 hands moved quickly across the screen. Then they stopped. He stared at the screen for a long time. This cannot be correct, he said finally. His voice had changed. It was smaller now, almost afraid. It's correct, said. She was already walking toward the armory. I need a shuttle, a pilot willing to fly into danger, and every weapon you have in storage. Wait, an officer stepped forward. He was young, barely an adult by their standards. What does her file say? What is so special about this human? Turned to look at him. When he spoke, his translator carried something rare for a fear. Earth conflict, the siege of New Seoul, the Battle of Harbor, he paused, the offensive. The names meant nothing to the aliens, but standing nearby went completely white. His hands started to shake. He whispered, that was. The news said that was a massacre. Over 2,000 enemy soldiers killed in one night. Command classified everything. They said it was 2. They never released the details. They didn't release the details, said quietly, because one soldier did it alone, and they didn't want anyone to know what humans can do when we stop being polite. She reached the armory and began loading weapons. A rifle, a shotgun, pistols, knives, grenades, enough equipment for a small army. You're going alone, the young asked, against over 100 raiders. Looked at him, her eyes were different now. The quiet, patient woman who counted boxes was gone. Something else looked out from behind those eyes, something old, something dangerous. They have my people, she said simply. 12 humans are in that facility. 12 people who trusted the coalition to protect them. 12 people who are about to die because your commander thought humans weren't worth bringing along. She strapped on her armor. It was old Earth military design. Black and from battles no one on the station knew about. I've spent 6 weeks being laughed at, pushed around, treated like garbage. I accepted it because fighting would have made things worse, because peace is more important than pride. She loaded her rifle with practiced hands. But there is no peace down there. There is only violence, and violence is something I understand very well. She walked toward the shuttle bay. The crowd parted before her like water before a knife. If anyone wants to stop me, she said without looking back, they're welcome to try. No one moved. No one breathed. Pilot Officer Shin was waiting at the shuttle. She had heard everything over the intercom. She was scared. Her hands were trembling on the controls. But when climbed aboard, started the engines without being asked. Where to? Asked. Theta 7, half a kilometer from the mining facility. Drop me and pull back to safe distance. You're really going alone? Checked her weapons one final time. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. I've been alone before, she said. It's not a problem. The shuttle lifted off and flew into the darkness of space. On the command deck of Harmony's Edge, everyone watched it go. The shuttle flew through the darkness of space. Inside sat alone in the cargo hold. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly. Her heartbeat was calm. Her hands were steady. This was familiar. This was home. His voice came through the speaker. Lieutenant, we're approaching Theta 7. I can see the mining facility. There's a lot of activity down there. Heat signatures everywhere. How many? Scanner shows. At least 90 armed targets around the facility, maybe more inside. 90, that was fewer than she had faced before. There had been over 2,000. She had been 19 years old. She had been tired and hungry and alone, and she had survived. This would be easier. Find me a landing spot in the eastern canyon, said. Rocky terrain, lots of shadows, I need cover. Understood, landing in 3 minutes. Stood and checked her weapons one last time. Rifle loaded, shotgun ready, 4 pistols in her belt, 6 knives hidden across her body, 30 grenades in her pack. It was enough. The shuttle landed softly on the rocky ground. The door opened. Cold, thin air rushed in. Theta 7 had almost no atmosphere. Sound did not travel well here. That was good. Silence was her friend. Wait for my signal, told. When you hear 3 short bursts on the radio, come get us. And if I don't hear anything, looked at her, then fly home and tell them what happened. She stepped out of the shuttle and disappeared into the darkness. Inside the mining facility, Commander pressed his back against a steel wall. His shoulder was bleeding. His warriors were dying around him. Of the 20 who had come with him, only 6 still breathed. The raiders had surrounded them. They were closing in slowly, enjoying the hunt. A massive stepped out from behind cover. He was the biggest had ever seen. His scales were black instead of green. His eyes burned with cruel joy. Commander of the Coalition, the black said. You've heard of me, yes. Had heard of him, the burner. He had destroyed 12 Coalition outposts. He had killed thousands. He was wanted in every system. Your warriors die well, continued, but they die nonetheless. Surrender now and I will make it quick. Fight on and I will make it slow. The Coalition will hunt you down, growled. You will pay for this. Laughed. The Coalition sends weaklings to fight me. What will they do? Send humans next. His raiders laughed with him. The sound echoed through the facility. Then a voice crackled over radio. Sir, we have movement, Eastern Ridge, single contact approaching. Frowned, 1 contact, just 1. Yes, sir, alone. Send a squad, kill them. 10 raiders moved out to intercept the lone figure. Turned back to, you see, your reinforcements are pathetic. 1 soldier against my army. I almost feel insulted. 3 minutes passed. The radio crackled again, but this time it was different, screaming, gunfire, then a wet crunching sound, then silence. Squad 7 report, said. Nothing. Squad 7. Nothing. Smile faded. Send another squad, find out what happened. 8 more raiders went out. Watched on his tactical display as their markers moved toward the eastern ridge. One by one, the markers disappeared. No screaming this time, no warning. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone. What is happening? Demanded. His voice was louder now, angry, confused. His lieutenant checked the sensors. Sir, the contact is still moving. It's inside the perimeter now. It's in the facility. Impossible. We have guards everywhere. The guards are not responding, sir. Grabbed his weapon. All units fall back to the central chamber. Protect the hostages. Whatever is out there, we use the humans as shields. His remaining raiders gathered in the main room of the mining facility. 43 hostages knelt in the center, hands bound, faces terrified. The 12 humans among them looked at each other with hopeless eyes. 60 raiders formed a circle around them, weapons ready, eyes watching every shadow. The lights flickered. Hold positions, ordered. It's just one enemy, probably a malfunction in the... The lights went out. Darkness filled the room. For 3 seconds, no one could see anything. Then the lights came back on. Stood in the center of the room. She was 5 meters from. Blood covered her armor, dark blood, blood. In each hand she held a combat knife. Around her lay 12 raider bodies. They had been standing right there, guarding the hostages. Now they were dead on the floor. No one had heard them fall. The raiders stared at her. This small creature, this tiny human female who barely reached their chests, she should have been nothing, she should have been prey. But she looked at them with eyes that held no fear, no anger, no emotion at all, just cold, patient purpose. "You should have stayed on your ships," said softly. "You should have left my people alone." Roared and raised his weapon. Moved. She was faster than anything they had ever seen. She flowed through the raiders like water through rocks. Her knives found throats, hearts, spines. Her small size became an advantage. They couldn't hit what they couldn't see. They couldn't catch what they couldn't follow. Gunfire erupted. Plasma bolts scorched the walls. Raiders shouted and screamed. But was already somewhere else, always somewhere else. Behind them, below them, above them, everywhere and nowhere at once. In the corner, Commander watched through his helmet camera. He watched this human, this small, quiet woman he had sent to count boxes, tear through 60 warriors like they were children. He had never seen anything like it. No one had ever seen anything like it. The battle lasted 11 more minutes. When it was over, stood alone among the bodies. 93 raiders had entered this facility. 93 raiders now lay dead or dying. She walked to the hostages. Her hands were gentle as she cut their bonds. "You're safe now," she told them. "A shuttle is coming." A human woman grabbed her arm. Tears streamed down her face. Thank you, we thought we were going to die." Looked at her with tired eyes. "Not today," she said simply. "Not while I'm still breathing." She walked outside to wait for. Behind her, Commander stared at the destruction. He stared at the bodies. He stared at the small figure sitting calmly in the moonlight. And for the first time in his life, Commander of the warrior caste felt something he had never felt before. The rescue shuttles arrived 2 hours later. Coalition soldiers poured into the mining facility, weapons ready for a fight that was already over. They found 43 hostages, alive and unharmed. They found 6 wounded warriors from his original team. They found Commander himself, sitting against a wall, staring at nothing. And they found 93 raider bodies, laid out in neat rows in the cargo bay. A coalition officer approached. "Commander, what happened here? Our sensors showed over 100 hostiles. Did reinforcements arrive before us?" Looked up at him with empty eyes. "One," he said, "one soldier. One squad. One soldier." The officer did not understand. He walked through the facility, counting bodies, checking the footage from security cameras. What he saw made no sense. A single figure moving through the darkness. Raiders falling like wheat before a scythe. No wasted movement. No hesitation. Just death delivered with terrible precision. Outside the facility sat alone on a rock. She was cleaning her weapons. Her armor had 3 burn marks where plasma rounds had grazed her. A deep cut ran along her left arm. She had wrapped it with a field bandage. Otherwise, she seemed untouched. Found her there. He walked toward her slowly, like approaching a wild animal. "Are you okay?" She looked up at him. For a moment something flickered in her eyes. Exhaustion, sadness, something old and heavy. Then it was gone, replaced by the calm mask she always wore. "The hostages are safe," she said. "That's what matters. You killed 93 enemy soldiers, by yourself, in less than an hour." 87, she corrected quietly. 6 surrendered, I let them. Did not know what to say. He had known for 6 weeks. He had thought she was just another victim, another quiet human trying to survive in a galaxy that did not want her. He had been wrong. "Who are you?" he asked finally. Was quiet for a long moment. "I'm someone who hoped she would never have to do this again, someone who wanted to believe that counting boxes was enough." She looked down at her blood-stained hands. "But some skills don't go away, no matter how much you want them to." Back on Harmony's edge, everything had changed. Word spread fast. Not the official reports which took days to process, but the raw footage from helmet cameras. The surviving warriors had watched work. They had recorded everything. Within hours, every crew member on the station had seen what a single human could do. When walked through the corridors, people moved aside. Who had laughed at her now pressed against walls to let her pass. Who had ignored her now nodded with respect. No one made eye contact. No one spoke. They were afraid. The other humans noticed the change immediately. "They're treating us differently," Minyu said during dinner. For the first time, they were eating in the main mess hall instead of hiding in corners. No one bothered them. No one put wrong spices in their food. All the humans on the station. Better quarters, better assignments, better everything. "They finally understand," said quietly. "They finally see what we really are." "What we really are," said, "is tired, tired of fighting, tired of proving ourselves, tired of being feared." She pushed her food around her plate. "I didn't want them to be afraid. I wanted them to see us as equals." "Maybe fear is the first step," suggested. "Maybe respect comes later." 2 days after the rescue, Commander found in the observation deck. His arm was in a healing cast. He moved stiffly. His pride was wounded more than his body. He stood beside her and looked out at the stars. Neither spoke for a long time. On finally said, "We have a saying, judge no warrior by their shadow but by the shadows of those they have cast down." He turned to face her. "I judged you by your size, your species, your silence. I was wrong." Said nothing. "I read your full file," continued. "Gave me access. The offensive. You were 19 years old. You held a mountain pass for 3 days against an army, alone. When they finally reached you, they found you standing in a field of 2,000 bodies. You asked for water and fresh ammunition." "I asked for my team back," corrected softly. "They were already dead. The water and ammunition were just practical." Was silent for a moment. Then he spoke again, his voice lower than before. "We called humans weak. We called you fragile, soft, unable to survive in a dangerous galaxy." He shook his head slowly. "We were fools. Your people are not weak. You are simply controlled. You keep yourselves leashed. And we were too stupid to see that the leash was for our protection, not yours." Finally looked at him. "Humans learned long ago what happens when we fight without limits. We burned our own world. We nearly destroyed ourselves, so we made rules. We built restraints, not because we can't fight, because we're too good at it. And when the restraints come off, then I do what I was trained to do." Her voice was flat, empty, and I try very hard not to enjoy it. Studied her face. This small woman who had humiliated his warriors, who had killed 93 enemies without breaking a sweat, who had saved his life when he had treated her like garbage. "Why didn't you fight back?" he asked. "When we bullied you, when we insulted you, when we pushed you around, why did you just accept it?" Turned back to the stars. "Because fighting is easy, Commander. Any animal can fight. But living peacefully with people who hate you, choosing patience over anger, diplomacy over dominance, that's hard. That's what separates civilized beings from beasts." And when civilization fails. For the first time, something dark crossed his face, something ancient and terrible. "When civilization fails," she said quietly, "beasts like me come out of our cages, and we remind the galaxy why humans should never, ever be pushed too far." Felt a chill run down his spine. He had fought enemies across 100 worlds. He had faced death more times than he could count. But standing next to this small human woman, he felt something he had not felt since he was a child. He felt like prey. "I owe you my life," he said finally. "My warriors owe you their lives. The hostages owe you their lives. How can I repay this debt?" Looked at him. Her eyes softened slightly. "Treat the humans on this station with respect. Not because you fear us, because we deserve it, because we're your allies, because we bleed and fight and die just like you do." Nodded slowly. "It will be done." He turned and walked away. At the door he stopped and looked back. "For what it's worth, Lieutenant Park, I am sorry. for everything. Did not turn around. "I know," she said. "Now go, I want to watch the stars alone." And she did. She watched them for hours, thinking about the blood on her hands and the peace she still hoped to find. Somewhere out there, among those distant lights, was a future where humans did not have to prove themselves through violence. She hoped she would live to see it. In the weeks that followed, life on Harmony's Edge changed completely. It started with small things. Crew members nodding when walked past, officers asking for her opinion during meetings. Her quarters moved from a storage closet to the senior officer's deck. Her meals prepared correctly every single time. No one apologized directly. That was not the way, but the message was clear. She had earned her place, not through words or complaints, but through action, through blood and fire and undeniable proof. The other humans felt the change too. Was reassigned from cleaning equipment to actual communications work, received proper medical supplies for the first time. Minyu was given real engineering projects instead of garbage duty. They walked through the station with their heads held high. "They're not bullying us anymore," Minyu observed one evening. The four humans were eating dinner together in the main mess hall. Other crew members sat nearby, talking and laughing. No one stared. No one whispered insults. "I think they're actually afraid of us now." "Not afraid," said. "Aware there's a difference." "Is there?" asked. "Fear and awareness seem very similar when you're on the other side." "Thought about this? Fear makes people angry, defensive. It builds walls between species. Awareness makes people careful, respectful. It builds bridges." "Which one is this?" asked. Before could answer, her communication device beeped. A message from Coalition Command. Priority level, maximum. She read it once, then again, then a third time. "What is it?" Leaned forward with concern. "A promotion," said slowly, "and a new assignment." She looked up at her friends. "They're creating a special operations unit, joint human team, first of its kind in Coalition history. They want me to lead it." The table fell silent. A joint team. Eyes went wide. Humans and working together, that's never been done before. "That's the point," said. "After what happened at Theta 7, both sides are asking questions. Humans want to know why we're treated as second-class citizens, want to know what else they've missed about us. Coalition Command thinks a joint unit could help answer both questions." "Will you accept?" asked softly. Stood and walked to the window. Outside, stars burned in the endless darkness. The same stars she had watched as a child on Earth. Back then, she had dreamed of exploring them. She had imagined a future of wonder and discovery. She had not imagined that her path to the stars would be paved with bodies. "Someone has to show them what we really are," she said finally. "Not the monsters they fear, not the weaklings they dismissed. Something in between, something better." She turned back to her friends. "Humans aren't the strongest species in the galaxy. We aren't the fastest or the biggest or the longest lived, but we're the most stubborn, the most adaptable, and when someone pushes us to our limits," a small smile crossed her face, "we push back harder than anyone expects." 3 months later, the first Combined Tactical Unit held its first mission briefing. The team gathered in a conference room on a Coalition cruiser. 6 warriors sat on one side of the table, 2 specialists sat in the corner, and 4 humans sat facing them. At the head of the table stood Commander Park. She wore a new uniform now, black with silver trim, the insignia of the Combined Tactical Unit. A human hand clasping a claw gleamed on her shoulder. "Our target is a pirate station near the outer rim," she said, pointing at a holographic display. "They've been attacking cargo ships for months. Local authorities can't stop them. We can." One of the warriors raised his hand. His name was, he was young and eager. "Commander, the station has over 200 defenders. Even with our combined forces, we are only 12. 12 is enough," said calmly. We don't fight like traditional soldiers, we fight smart. We hit them where they're weak. We use surprise, speed, and precision. The way is direct assault, another warrior said. He was older, more experienced. We face our enemies head-on. The way got 20 warriors killed on Theta 7, replied without anger. The human way kept 43 hostages alive. Maybe it's time to try something new. The room was silent. They exchanged glances. 3 months ago, they would have laughed at a human giving them orders. Now, after seeing the footage from the mining facility, none of them were laughing. "What are your orders, Commander?" asked finally. Smiled, it was a small smile but warm. "We go in quiet, take out their communications first, then their power, then their weapons. By the time they realize what's happening, it's already over." The mission launched the next morning. 14 minutes later, it was finished. 0 casualties on either side. 112 pirates surrendered the moment they saw who was leading the assault team. Word had spread across the outer rim. Stories about the human woman who had killed 93 raiders alone. Stories about the ghost who moved through darkness. Stories about the small soldier who made giants afraid. Some stories said she was a demon. Others said she was a machine. A few said she was humanity's final weapon, unleashed at last. The truth was simpler and stranger than any story. She was just a woman who wanted peace. A woman who had learned to kill so that others could live. A woman who carried the weight of violence so that her people could carry hope instead. After the mission, sat alone in the cruiser's observation deck. Found her there watching the stars. "Commander," he said, settling his massive frame beside her, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why do you fight? You clearly hate violence. You take no joy in killing, so why do you do it?" Was quiet for a long time. "On Earth," she said finally, "there's an old saying, those who want peace must prepare for war. Humans learned this lesson the hard way. We fought each other for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed our world. And through all that suffering, we learned that the only way to protect peace is to be ready to defend it. So you fight to prevent fighting." "I fight so that others don't have to. I carry this burden so that children can grow up without learning what I know, so that young people can dream of the stars without nightmares of blood." Nodded slowly. "Among my people we would call that honor, true honor, not the honor of conquest but the honor of sacrifice." "What do your people call someone who carries such honor?" Stood and looked down at her. In his yellow eyes there was no fear now, only respect. "We call them shield bearers," he said. "The ones who stand between darkness and light. The ones who face death so others may live." He placed his massive fist over his heart. "You are a shield bearer, Commander Park, and I am proud to serve beside you." He walked away, leaving alone with the stars. She sat there for hours, thinking about the long road that had brought her here. From counting boxes in a cargo bay to leading warriors into battle. From being bullied and dismissed to being feared and respected. Somewhere out there, among those distant lights, a new future was being born. A future where humans and aliens fought side by side. Where strength was measured by character, not size. Where the small and the quiet could change the galaxy. They had seen her combat record. And suddenly, no one wanted to bully her again. But more importantly, they had seen her heart. And that was worth more than any record could ever show. He felt afraid of a human. They watched a single human fly toward 100 enemies. And for the first time, they wondered if maybe they had been wrong about humans all along. They would see for themselves.